So once you click the new payment button, it pops up a form. First, you indicate the date. So when did you receive this amount from the tenant? So I'm going to go ahead and change this to January 17th. Now ignore the validity of the data. This is just for demonstration purposes. So the income I enter might not tally with the lease information I enter. I'm just entering random information just to demonstrate the functionalities of the template. Next, you indicate the tenant's name, for instance, Rose. And once you do, the template will automatically pull information from other sections. So based on data in the lease information, the template recognizes that Rose Random currently rents one of the triplex, and this is the monthly amount, and this was when the lease started. If I change this from Rose to John, you notice it automatically updates the information. John's lease started in 2018. It's a triplex, and it's a $4,000 monthly fee. So the moment you select the customer or the tenants, it will automatically update the property name. You can still change this. This is not fixed, but it just does it for you automatically so that you don't have to type. The amount based on the lease information and when the lease started, which was in January 2020. The mode of payment, so if we're going to enter check, next we can indicate the check number, and then we can click enter to store that payment. So now we're telling the template that on this particular day, we received $4,500 from Rose Random in form of check for this particular property. To add another income, you simply repeat the process. You select the tenant's name, for instance, John Random. The lease started in February, so I can go ahead and change this to, let's say, 2018, when the lease started, the first payment I received. Mode of payment, cash, and then any optional notes. Click on enter. It's going to automatically store that to the template. So I've added payments now for 2018 and 2019. So whenever you receive payments, for instance, when I received in the month of March, I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same information for John Random, because payment is on a monthly basis. So now I've added for February, I've added for March. You repeat the same thing for April. You pretty much, whenever you receive any money from the tenant, you just go ahead. And the quick thing, or the useful thing, is when you select the tenant, you don't have to type all this information. All you need to do is to enter the date, the mode of payment, and then click on enter. Okay, so now I've added 3 payments for John, and I've added 1 payment for Rose. So that's how you add payments information for each of your tenants. So that covers all the data entry fields. Next, we move on to the report section. Now, the report section holds multiple reports that would automatically sum up data from other sections and present it in a report format. So the first report we have is the payment report. Now, this just enables you to view your monthly rental payments. So monthly, annually, you have the choice to filter per time frame. So once you click, it will automatically refresh the report. So at the top, the user can filter by year, by month, and you can also filter by the type of apartment. So right now we have only triplex. That's why triplex is only listed here. But if I go back to the property section and I add another type of property, for instance, the condo, and I make this February 2009. Let's assume I purchased this for, the rental amount is 2,000. Ignore the validity of the data. I'm just entering random information just for demonstration purposes. And I click on enter. So now I've added another type of property, which is the condo. So if I go back to my reports and I go back to my payment reports, you notice that the moment I add a lease information, so right now all the lease are for triplex, so I simply need to go to my tenant's information. I can quickly add a tenant. I can leave all the other fields blank. I can go to add lease, add a new lease for 2019. I can make this start on the 7th. Once I select the property, you notice it automatically updates the drop-down list. The tenant's name, Mary Phillips, and I click on enter. So now there's an active lease for that particular property right here. I can now go ahead and add payments when I receive payments from the tenant. So let's assume that this month I receive payments from Mary Phillips. It will automatically update the rental amount, the property. This can be received in credit card, and then I click on enter. So there we go. So now I've added condo transactions. So if I go to my reports and I go to payments, you notice that right now I can filter by that, or I can filter by triplex. If you want to know the total amount you earn from all of your properties that are triplex, you simply click on that. You see the total at the bottom. Total from this, you simply click. You see the total at the bottom. If you want to see everything, you simply click this button to clear the filter, and it combines everything together. In the same way, you can filter for any month if I want to see for February, or if I want to see for April. So this report just enables you see your income per criteria, excuse me. So you can be able to see for any particular year. So 2018, this is 2018 information. This is what you earned in 2018. You can see for 2020. You can be able to see for all if you're combining 2018 and 2020 together. There we go. You can also be able to filter for any of the calendar months. So this is the first report, which is the payment report. It just helps you summarize data from the income section, because later on you're going to have surplus information here when you collect rent, on a monthly basis. So this is going to be clustered with so much information. So this report just enables you to filter and see only what you want to see. So I only want to see March. It's going to show me only March transactions. I only want to see January. It's going to show me only January transactions. And you can see for multiple months. So you simply click here, select multiple items. So I can see, for instance, for January, February, March, first quarter, and this will just sum all of that together. Here I select the year that I want to see. So that's a summary of the first report. The second is the expense report. It's very similar to the first. The only difference is this shows the summary for maintenance activities. So it summarizes data from our maintenance section. So right now we have only 2 maintenance activities. I'm just going to quickly add another one in the month of January. It's going to be any contractor. Go to select that property. It's going to be maintenance. So once I've added details pertaining to that transaction, I click on enter. So now we have 3 maintenance activities. They're all in January 2020. I can change this to February. I just want to have data across multiple months. I can change this to the 10th, and I can change this to the 9th. I just want to have different days, different months. There we go. So we have 3 transactions. So if I go back to my report section, I click on the second report. You notice it automatically updates. I can filter to see only cash payments. So these are the only cash payments I receive. Debit card payments I receive. I can filter to see only maintenance activities or repair activities. So the moment you click, you notice it automatically filter the reports. I can clear the filter and see for both. So both maintenance and repair. I can filter for any calendar month, for instance, January, 2 transactions. February, we have only 1 transaction. And I can filter for any year. Right now, all our transactions is in 2020. So that's the only option I have to select. Okay, and I can always filter this back or clear the filter so I can see for all transactions for January and for February. The overall total is 4,000. The 4,000, the cash payment was 3,600. The card payment was 400. So that's the expense report. Next, we move on to the get property info. Now this is a very useful report. It enables you to select any particular rental property, and it's going to list a breakdown of the rental history and the maintenance history. So it pretty much combines information from the maintenance section and the property income section. So once you click on it, it automatically refreshes, and all you have to do is to select the property name. So the moment I select the name, the template will automatically tell me the total income I've generated from this property and the total expense. So for this property, I haven't made any income. I've spent only 1,000. So let me select another property that I've made income. There we go. So for the flat 2, I've made 12,000 and I've spent 4,000. Total tenants that I've had till date is only 1 person. So once I click refresh, it's going to list the breakdown of this information here. So I know that there's been only 1 tenant in this property since I got the property, and this is the tenant here. The start date was in February 2018. This is the tenant's name, currently inactive. This is the rental amount. Payment history tells me I've made a total of 12,000. Now the breakdown is here. I got 4,000, all from the same person, but these are the respective dates that I made 4, total in 12,000. This is the mode of payments. Next, maintenance history. There's been only 1 maintenance activity, which is the expense of 400, and that's the changing of all of my circuits, which is 400, And lastly, we have the notes. We haven't yet covered this section. We're going to cover this section shortly. This is where you enter your pending maintenance activities for each of your properties or any optional notes you don't want to forget. Okay, so this report is very useful because it combines all the information to a single report. You can go ahead and print this out. You can be able to know the rental history for any property, the payment history, so all you've generated, 12,000. This is the breakdown here. The maintenance history, 400, and then any optional notes. And this is for any of your properties. So I can change this, for instance, to the most recent property I added. Click on the refresh button. It tells me this is the only tenant till date, 1, 2,000. She has made only 1 payment, 2,000. That's why the total income is 2,000. There's been only 1 repair, 2.6, which was the changing of the air filters. There we go, 2.6. And then we haven't covered the notes section. And this is dynamic, so I'm just going to quickly add another payment or another maintenance activity for this particular property. So I'm going to go to maintenance, and if I recall correctly, the property that we're currently covering is the number 34 Waterlane Avenue. So I simply go to my maintenance, click on new, and I'm going to leave the date, select any random contractor. Then I'm going to go ahead and select this. Let me change the date to January. And I'm going to go ahead and make this repair. Let's assume that I paid 500, paid in card, click on enter. Okay, so I've added another activity. Recall this with sorts in chronological order. Oldest at the top, most recent at the bottom. Now if I go back to my reports, click on the get property info, click on refresh, you notice that now it's going to list 2 maintenance activities. The total has increased to 3,100. And if you want to see the breakdown at the bottom under maintenance history, we can see the breakdown here. On this date, there was 500, and on this date, there was 26. The sum together gives us 3,100. So that's how all sections are connected. This report just enables you to see information pertaining to a single property. It's going to combine the maintenance, the rental, and then the income summaries all together. Now, the fourth report is an aggregate report. So what this enables you to do is on a monthly basis, it enables you to see the total amount you've spent on each property. So you can be able to see the total expense in January, February, up until December. Then you can see the overall total expense you spent on a property in a particular year and the overall income you've generated from a property in an entire year. Now, how does this work? All you need to do is at the top, you enter the year you want to see. So if I enter 2019, everything is going to be 0 because we have no transactions in 2019. But if I change this to 2020, we should see some figures. There we go. So in 2020, you can already see that in the month of January, you got 1,000 from this property, 400 from this property, and 500 from this property. In February, you got only 26 from only this property. So right now, if you want to add an expense for the month of February, so right now we can see that in February, this is the only property we spent on, 2,600. We can confirm that. If we go back to our maintenance, you notice that in February, there's only one transaction, which is indeed the Water Lane Avenue. If we go back to our monthly summary, so you notice that in February, the other 3 properties, there are no maintenance activities. So I'm quickly going to add one just very quickly, and I'm going to leave this as February. I'm going to select a random contractor, one of the properties. This can be a repair. This can be, and let's assume that we spent, paid in cash, click on enter, there we go. So I've just added an expense there for the month of February. Now ignore the validity of the data. This might not be the cost of the top replacements, just random figures. So going back to my reports, clicking on monthly summary, you notice that's automatically entered 7,000 there. So all sections are interconnected. This is going to tell you on a monthly basis the total amount you spend, maintenance activities on each property. At the bottom, you have the overall total for January across all of the properties. And if you scroll to the right, you have the overall yearly totals. So we know that the first property we spent a total of 8,000 in this entire year 2020. The next we spent 400, and the last we spent a bit over 3,000. You can equally see the total income, so you can be able to compare what you spent versus what you've made for the entire year. And at the bottom we have the grand totals across all of the properties. So here we can see that we've even spent more than we've actually gotten in terms of monthly income. Okay, so this section or this report just enables you to have a picture view, so you can be able to see the total aggregate summaries, no breakdowns, just the total on a monthly basis that you spend on each property, income, each property, and then the overall totals at the bottom. So that's a summary of the template. The last thing we're going to cover now is the notes section. So you can navigate to the notes section via the reports dashboard. So if you click on the last button to go to the reports section, which lists all the reports, you notice the last button takes us to where we can add our notes and pending maintenance. Now this is just a data entry field. It's not really linked to any other section. It just enables you log in information you don't want to forget. So once you click on notes, it takes us to that section. You can log in incoming requests. So for instance, if a tenant calls and just tells you something is spoiled and you don't want to forget it, you can log it here. Or if you yourself want to perform a particular activity, so if you want to repaint a particular apartment, you can log it here so you do not forget. Now it's a data entry section, so you simply double click no form at the top. You just double click enter the dates. The property name, this will list all properties in your database. The request is the request being made by a tenant or a landlord. So if the tenant calls you, you can indicate the tenant that called. The category, so this can be the location in the house, which is bathroom. Notes, which can be tub replacements. When you plan for it to be completed, so let's say you give yourself a month's deadline. So this was when the request was made. You plan to complete it by March, and then the status. So when you eventually complete it, you're going to change this to complete. But right now it's pending because it's not yet completed. So once you log the information here, the template will automatically reflect it in the property section. So if you go to properties, for that particular property, we should see a pending maintenance of 1. So as I said earlier on, the property section is like a summary section. From there, you can see all properties you have, the most recent occupant, and also if there's any pending maintenance activity that you need to undertake. So right now we know we have one pending maintenance. I can add another for another property. We went to the report section, we clicked on notes, and then you just type in the dates. Select the property. I'm going to go ahead and select the last property. The request was made, maybe the landlord, you yourself. This can be the entire building. Let's assume that you just want to repaint entire building. Okay, and you give yourself maybe 4 months. Let's say you want to complete this by May, and it's still pending because you haven't yet accomplished that. So right now we should see a pending activity for the Condor apartment. So if we go to the property section, we scroll to the right, which is pending maintenance 1. Okay, so all sections are interconnected together. And when you eventually complete the notes, so you can simply just change this from pending to complete, and it will automatically update in the property section. So right now for the flat 1 triplex, there should be no pending maintenance because we've indicated that it's complete. So it's reverted back to 0. So that's the notes section. In addition to pending maintenance, you can also document other notes. So for instance, if a tenant calls and just tells you anything, you know, the apartment will be empty from this period, or just any information you don't want to forget, you can enter the date, the property name, if it's related to any location in the property, or the notes you don't want to forget. Okay, that's the usefulness of this section. It's just a log where you can log in incoming requests or just any notes that you don't want to forget pertaining to any of the properties. So that's a summary of the template. Thanks, and do take care.